Help me hit 7,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. My name is Milo Hartley, and until a few months ago, I thought I had a pretty good grasp on what honesty meant in a relationship. I'm 34, she's 32, and for most of our 5 years together, I believe trust was the one thing we never faked. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever is, but we had our routines, our jokes, our quiet comfort. And in a world that feels louder every year, comfort can fool you into thinking you're safe. Her name is Juniper Lee, June to almost everyone except me. I always called her Junie, because she laughed every time I said it like I'd invented a private nickname only we understood. She worked in digital marketing, loved pistachio ice cream, and never started a morning without checking the weather app twice. I loved her. I built a life that assumed she'd never choose to live anywhere else but beside me. Maybe that's why I didn't see it coming. About 2 months ago, she told me she was going on a girls' trip to Napa Valley. A weekend getaway, she said, with her 2 closest friends, Sienna and Callie. They were a tight-knit trio, brunches, wine nights, Pinterest boards for vacations they'd never take. So the idea didn't raise a red flag. Not at first. She showed me the flights. She showed me the Airbnb. She even talked about matching robes. Everything looked real enough for me to kiss her goodbye at the airport and help her carry her luggage to the curb. But the first itch of wrongness came on the first night when she didn't answer any of my calls. Not one. I sent a quick text, nothing clingy, nothing demanding. Hope the trip's fun. Let me know you got there safe. No reply. Hours passed. Silence. When she finally responded the next morning, it was only 4 words. Sorry. Fell asleep early. Junie never fell asleep early. She stayed up scrolling, reading, planning. It was like watching someone try to impersonate her and forgetting the small details that made her real. That same afternoon, I ran into Sienna by pure accident. I was grabbing coffee near my office when she walked in behind me, sunglasses on her head, humming like she had the whole day off. She froze when she saw me, just for a second, but it was enough. Milo, she said. You okay? You look surprised. I didn't dance around it. Aren't you supposed to be in Napa with Junie? Her face shifted. Soft. Guilty. Maybe even a little angry at herself. She stepped closer and lowered her voice. Milo, she said she told you. Told me what? Sienna's mouth closed, then opened again like she hadn't rehearsed the next line. She sighed and looked away, shoulders collapsing inward. Milo, I'm not part of this. I didn't know she used my name. And just like that, the floor under my life cracked. I didn't push her. I didn't raise my voice. I just walked out of the coffee shop with a numbness that spread from my chest outward until even the afternoon sun felt strangely cold. When I got home, I sat in the quiet living room and stared at the blank TV screen until my own reflection blurred. People talk about betrayal like it comes with noise. Shouting, crying, slammed doors. But mine arrived silently, like a draft sneaking in through a window I thought I had closed. Junie was lying. Not about something small, something foundational. And I needed to know why. That night, I called Ash, her friend from college. Ash was the one person I trusted to tell the truth even when it hurt. We'd never been especially close, but we respected each other. That counts for something. Ash? I said the moment he picked up. I need to ask you something and I need the truth. His inhale crackled through the speaker. Is this about Junie's trip? There it was again, the same tone Sienna had, the soft apology before the words even left his mouth. She's not with Sienna and Callie, I said. So where is she? A beat, then another, then the sound of defeat. Milo. She's with someone else. Those 5 words hollowed out my ribs. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I just sat there, staring at the wall, every memory I'd ever shared with her suddenly feeling like it belonged to strangers. Ash kept talking, explaining things, giving me details I didn't want, maybe hoping to soften the blow. But I wasn't listening anymore. My mind was already somewhere else, somewhere cleaner, somewhere clearer. By the time I hung up, something inside me had steadied. Not because I stopped caring, but because caring was no longer the sane thing to do. And that's when I made a decision. If she wanted a new life, she could have it. But she wouldn't get to keep the old one. The next morning, her friend Callie and I met for brunch. Something she suggested, not me. She was the only one Junie hadn't dragged into her lie, and somehow, she looked more hurt by the situation than I did. We talked. We processed. And somewhere between the coffee and the check, we both reached the same conclusion. If Junie wanted her freedom, we'd give it to her with a smile. Callie lifted her glass, a quiet toast. To Junie's adventure, she said. And to her great time, I replied. Right before I signed the papers. The papers felt heavier than I expected. Legal documents don't carry the emotion of words spoken. They carry permanence. Every signature I placed was a reminder that the life I thought we shared was a story she had already finished writing without me. But I signed each line with calm, with clarity, with the strange sort of liberation that comes from finally letting someone go. Callie didn't push. She didn't say, "I told you so," or try to comfort me in a false way. She just watched as I scribbled my name, her hands folded neatly on the table, a soft witness to the end of something that had once felt unbreakable. I wondered briefly if Junie would have understood the gravity of this gesture if she had seen it, if she'd even cared. But I quickly pushed that thought away. It wasn't about her anymore. It never had been. After signing, we stepped outside. The early afternoon sun was crisp, almost sharp in its brightness, like it was daring me to feel anything. Callie nudged me slightly, a small, almost imperceptible gesture of solidarity. She didn't speak about Junie, didn't give me a pep talk. Sometimes silence carries more weight than any words ever could. I drove home slowly, windows down, letting the wind catch in my hair. I felt the air differently now, clean, unfiltered. Not because I'd won or because I'd forced her hand. I felt it because I had chosen myself. And in the echo of that choice, I realized something fundamental. This wasn't the end. Not really. It was the first morning I could breathe without pretending to be okay when everything inside was crumbling. That night, I sat in the living room with a glass of whiskey I hadn't touched in months. The bottle had been gathering dust, much like my patience had. I swirled it gently, watching the amber liquid catch the light, and thought about Junie. Not in anger, not in regret, but in that quiet, reflective way that sometimes makes you feel both smaller and larger at the same time. I didn't feel betrayal. I felt clarity. The next few weeks were a strange combination of monotony and revelation. Junie's absence became a space I could fill with anything I wanted. I went back to the gym with the kind of focus I hadn't had since college. I reconnected with old friends who had quietly slipped away because my life had become defined by someone else's decisions. I even took a few weekends just to myself, road trips, hiking, cafes in cities I'd never visited. Every step was a reminder that life moves, whether we are dragged along or in control of the wheel. But the reality of Junie's deception stayed with me, sharp and unyielding. She had lied not about trivial matters, but about her life, about the way she wanted to live it, the people she wanted beside her, and the space she wanted away from me. And yet, for all the pain that caused, there was an honesty in accepting it now. Acceptance doesn't erase the hurt. It doesn't erase the time wasted, but it transforms it into a foundation from which something new can grow. It wasn't just about her trip or the lies or the way she maneuvered friends and expectations. It was about the revelation that some people, no matter how much you love them, cannot be what you need them to be. And for all my life, I had assumed love was enough to fix everything. Now I understood. Love isn't enough when trust has been broken. When someone chooses a path that doesn't include you, even indirectly, the kindest act is not pleading for them to stay. It's honoring yourself enough to walk forward. A month later, I ran into Sienna again. This time it was different. There were no surprises, no tension, just mutual acknowledgement. We didn't talk about Junie at length. We didn't need to. There was a subtle understanding between us. An acknowledgement that the events of the past few months had changed everything but also given clarity where confusion once reigned. Sometimes, the people who matter are not the ones who hurt you, but the ones who see the truth and stand quietly beside you. And as for Junie, I haven't spoken to her since that last weekend. I don't know where she is or who she is with, or if she thinks about the life we built together at all. And that's fine, because I've discovered something more valuable than curiosity or revenge. The kind of peace that only comes from finally being honest with yourself. I've kept a journal during this time, writing out every fleeting thought, every pang of betrayal, every moment of unexpected liberation. It's strange how words, once shared only with someone else, become a sanctuary when you write them for yourself. My entries start the same way every day now. I am Milo Hartley. I choose me today. And sometimes that's all the affirmation a person needs. Sometimes it's enough to rebuild a life that felt like it had crumbled. So here's the truth. She lied, yes. She left, yes. But in the void she created, I found something I never had before. A clarity untainted by manipulation. A freedom I hadn't realized was possible. And the certainty that my happiness is no longer dependent on someone else's whims. I signed the papers, toasted to her adventures, and walked into the next chapter of my life knowing one thing clearly. Honesty with yourself is worth more than any love built on lies. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled without apology.